What do being crew? It's your boy Savon Thomas. We are back with another episode of Coffee with Friends, and this time we are reviewing Queen Charlotte. I have my friends with me. Yeah, go ahead and show you coffee with Leslie. My friends with me. Obviously, you have your boy Savon Thomas. Excited for our discussion today, but I'll let the crew this time introduce themselves. Who wants to kick us off and say hi?
I'll say hi. So I'm Leslie at DiamondLess _ on Instagram, and I'm drinking some sweet tea and lemonade from Milo's, all organic. So I just went grocery shopping, but yeah, excited to be here.
Nice. You don't have to say yet what you're drinking. No, you don't have to say yet what you're drinking, but that's cool too. I'm drinking coffee, so we're
okay.
good. Yeah.
I'm Jasmine Mabry. You can catch me on Instagram at @HyperIt'sJMay, also on TikTok at @HyperIt'sJMay for all your Dallas food needs. And I'm drinking grapefruit juice because it is too late to be drinking coffee right now.
There's no such thing as a bad time to drink coffee. I love a TikTok plug too. I never plug my TikTok on anything or my Twitter. I have a Twitter, I have a TikTok. I don't plug either one. I'm always just like Instagram or YouTube.
See, I'm trying to help you out, Savon. See, Black woman empowerment right here.
Exactly, and we'll talk about that because the Black women in the show stood by their men. So we'll get to that. So lastly, we'll talk about
Gabby. Name's Gabby Thomas. I don't do nothing, so y'all gotta follow me. And my cup is my little Stitch cup. Has soda in it because I'm not on my fit journey yet.
Nice, very nice, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody already introducing what they're drinking. This is Bean Crew. We still haven't got the cups out yet, but we will get the cups out soon. One day, I don't know when. I've been promising it for like a year now, but have not got any cups out. But one day we will have coffee cups, and everybody can have a Bean Crew cup. Actually, funny enough, I promised everybody that has joined Coffee with Friends a coffee mug, so you guys are included in that now. I'll get you guys a free coffee mug whenever I do actually come up with these for people to get. But y'all get a free one. So, anyways,
I want a beanie, like a Bean Crew beanie. So when it gets cold outside, I drink my coffee. I have my mug and my beanie, so people can see.
I haven't got there yet. I haven't looked at other than like I've only heard people ask me for coffee cups. Like that's been like the merchandise thought process. But beanies do make sense. I just don't know who wants to wear like a brown beanie. Like my logo is like brown, like a dark brown and a light brown because it's coffee. So I'm like, how would a brown beanie look? You know, like I have this beanie.
Beanies are nice.
No, a black beanie with the brown logo on the,
Yeah.
Come on, Savon.
Hey, I might need to hire you as my merchandise manager.
Jasmine. Hey, I got you. $500 an hour.
$500 an hour? Okay, never mind. I might need to outsource that to somebody that could. Leslie, can you do that?
Kidding.
Leslie's Mexican, so I know she has some family members that can take care of
that.
Wow. Now we're going to actually get down to our Queen Charlotte breakdown and really recap the season that is. So for you guys that haven't watched Queen Charlotte at all, it's fantastic. It's actually a spin-off series of the show Bridgerton. So Bridgerton is a book series that I've never read the books. I just saw the Netflix TV shows. Right now there are 2 seasons. And obviously in the works for the 3rd one to come out, but it talks about just the Bridgerton family and like their love interest and things going on. But this show, Queen Charlotte, talks about the Queen of England because you only get a good backstory of her. And I don't know if there's a book or not, but I think there is probably. I would assume there's probably a book about her story, but if not, they just took this and they're like, we're going to do whatever we want to with it. So Queen Charlotte talks about the backstory of the Queen of England. It does a fantastic job. And I wasn't going to watch this at all, Bean Crew, until Jasmine here on this podcast. I don't want to say berated me because she didn't yell at me, but she forcefully recommended this show to me, right? Maybe threatened my family, maybe not. We don't know. But she did recommend the show to me, and I watched it. So I'm thankful for you, Jasmine, for recommending me the show.
The queen is, the queen's here, so we gotta.
Perfect. So to kick off our breakdown. So I'm curious, like, what were you guys expecting before you saw the show? Like, were you excited? Like when the trailer came out, they talked about this show. Like, were you guys excited for it, or what were you guys thinking, kind of going into Queen Charlotte?
I didn't even know they were going to come out with the show until I saw it was available to watch. I just instantly watched it. because I liked Bridgerton that much. Plus, I'm on maternity leave, so I've just been watching a bunch of shows, binge watching them like crazy. So
Yeah, when I saw that they had Queen Charlotte, I thought it was gonna be more of her like backstory, not just like her becoming queen. But before that,
Okay, so you thought, wait, say that again? You thought it was gonna be her becoming queen?
no, I thought it was gonna be that like before she became queen. I thought it was gonna be like her childhood and stuff, which it kind of was because she was like 17 when she got married.
Yeah, I mean, all these people get married hella young, so
Yeah, I'm
it's
like,
kind of like the
I don't know
staple.
about that, guys.
I was excited. Like, well, I don't think I fully watched the trailer. I just saw it was a spinoff of like before she got into, Bridgerton and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
I was like, well, if Bridgerton's gonna be good, then Queen Charlotte has to be good.
yeah. Shonda Rhimes done a good job with this series. I honestly, I had no plans of watching it because I don't know. For me, the story is like good, but I felt like it just kept on like the storylines are kind of similar. I feel like not this one. This was like a little bit different, but like I feel like season 1 to season 2, like it was like they hate each other and they love each other. They hate each other and then they love each other. So I was like, okay, is this gonna be the exact same thing as that? Like they just gonna hate each other and love each other? And it kind of did, but like I don't know. When I first saw it, I was like, I don't know if I'll watch it. And then obviously Jasmine got me to watch it. Not got me to. She told me it was a good show, so therefore it made me want to watch it. But yeah, so like for me, like my expectations were it's going to be the exact same as like the other seasons, just telling us about like Queen Charlotte's backstory, and I was like, her character. I mean, it's interesting character, but like she's never really been like somebody had been like, you know what, I want to learn more about her. But she is like a black queen in England, so it's definitely an interesting thought process of like how the heck did she end up there? So for me, like the mixed relations was like I didn't know if they touched on like the race relations at all, and clearly they did. So they did. So
That's
just to
what
kind
that's what I was interested to see too, was, how did this Black woman become a queen of all of this and kind of make society mixed versus it's just more white in charge.
I agree. Anybody else have thoughts on that? Did you think about that going in, Gabby? Or well, I mean, you said so, Gabby. You said you watched all the seasons all at once, right? Like
Yeah.
season 1, season 2, season 3. So is
Yeah.
that something that came across your mind at all when watching it? Same question for you, Leslie.
Yeah, because I didn't want to know how she became queen. So I was like, most of the other people were just kind of white from what it looked like. Like a majority was white. So I'm like, how'd she get to be queen?
Any thoughts there,
I
Leslie?
was wondering what was wrong with her husband. So I knew that he was sick, and so I was wondering that a lot whenever I was watching Bridgerton.
See, I don't know. I never really thought about the king at all because like it focuses so much on like what's Penelope's pen name that they use in the show?
Oh, Whistledown.
Yeah, Lady
Whistledown.
Whistledown. It focuses so much on Lady Whistledown and like the people getting married. Like I never thought about the king at all. Like they never
Yeah, no, I
showed
thought
it.
he was dead, if anything, because he just wasn't there.
Well, no. So they bring up the fact that he's not around because she always asks in other seasons, like, is the king dead? Like this is what you're telling me, the king's dead. And so I
Yeah.
just thought she hated him.
Mm-hmm.
Sam.
Yeah, I just thought.
I was just interested in why she was so like kind of standoffish and so angry in Bridgerton, because it's like, why is this, what happened to this woman to where she got to this point where she's just like, you're not good enough, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I don't think that that's how the queen really acts, but I'm glad they came out with this to show like the background of why she was the way she was.
And why so much of her time is spent like on these relationships too. Like it's just like the only thing she has in life is just like this season of people courting each other and finding husbands. Like it feels like that's her life goal, is just figuring that out. So and it makes sense why, because I mean, what else is she gonna focus on? Her husband's not there for her or whatever. So
Right.
but anyways, so that's awesome. So that's good. Again, I had no expectations going into the show. I was like, we'll see what happens. People told me it was good. We're gonna see what happens. And so it was good. I thoroughly enjoyed the show. So if you guys haven't watched it, go watch it. Episode 1, we introduced the Queen Charlotte, right? So we get to see young Queen Charlotte. You get to see like, the older version of Queen Charlotte, young Queen Charlotte. And she's riding in the carriage with her brother, right? Oh, you get to see like the beginning of it as well, like what's going on there. But she's riding the carriage with her brother, just got signed over to the British Empire to be queen. And she's just like pissed because she's like, what the hell is going on? Like I went from, my regular life to now you just sent me to some foreign country to live by myself. Would you guys have been like, how would y'all feel if y'all was in a situation? Like if y'all got signed over to just be somebody's husband, but then you're gonna be the queen as well. Like how would y'all feel about somebody doing that to y'all?
That pissed me off because I'm like, I don't know these people. I was living a good life. So I don't
I
see
feel
why you decided that was okay to do without even consenting with me.
I feel the same. Like I was mad for her because they're just like, oh well, you're gonna go and you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that. And she's like, I didn't want to do that. I just want to stay where I'm at.
Yeah, like I didn't ask for that. I was chill at home.
But you're gonna be the queen of England. Like that's a whole nother level.
I don't think she was mentally ready for that.
True.
Especially it's telling her that it's one thing you're telling her, okay, you're gonna go get married. Oh, you're gonna get married and you're about to be the queen.
I know. But that doesn't that like I don't know. When I was watching it, I was like, dang, that sucks to just be like, sold like cattle, you know what I mean? Basically, essentially. But like it's not you're not just being sold, like it's like you're going to be the queen of a freaking country. Like I guess my thought process is different because I'm a dude. Like if I got told, hey bro, you got chose by this princess over here or this queen over here, and you're gonna be the freaking prince or king of this country, I'd be like, fam, what's good? Like we got riches now, we got bread, we you know what I mean? Like that would be my thought process. But I guess as a woman it's different.
Yeah, because it's like you have
less mad if she had just like met him first and they would actually tell her about him because they weren't. Right. It's like she would have been okay with it at that point because she just wanted to know like what's going on. Who is this dude?
She like literally had no say in anything that she could do. And it was like, this is the contract, this is done, this is where you're going.
So y'all would have been pissed like her. She was in that thing. Also, I hate the fact that I couldn't. You know what I thought about too? They said they've been riding for 6 hours and she couldn't really move in a dress. I like maybe because I'm getting older, but I was like, my bladder couldn't handle that. Like I would have to pee. Like 6 hours in a carriage. I was like, bro, we might pull over and pee.
So these are things that women go through that you don't even understand. the things that we go through to look good, to look presentable for somebody. This is what we go through.
But she couldn't have just got dressed. Like couldn't they just like I don't want to say hung up because there's no hangers back then. But like couldn't they just put the dress in the back? You know what I mean? Like why she have to wear the dress right there?
What bag? There was no trunk back there. It was like a coach carriage.
I don't know. Like why she have to wear the dress?
I don't know where else.
Why she have to wear the dress? 6 hours, 6 hours, and they still weren't there. I would be like, fam, no, because you couldn't. She was like, if I move, I'm gonna get stabbed. I'm gonna bleed everywhere. It's like
that part like made me laugh so hard because she was being so sarcastic with her brother, and I'm like, this is me. Like this is how I would be if I were in the situation. I would be like, I'm gonna make jokes and I'm gonna make this seem like I hate this the whole time.
Yep, she was very sassy, which I loved. You kind of knew, but like. The queen in the regular show, like she's not as sassy. Like she's very stoic and very like mean. But like this one, like you could tell she was a very sharp-witted girl, and like it was great to see the different like how her personality's kind of progressed over the years too, with this episode. So that was cool. But I was curious to ask you guys that because I'm like, as a dude, I would have been lit. I was like, bro, I don't care. Hopefully she's beautiful, but we got bread. Like we got money. Well, you about to be king. But she's
So my question is to you, then what if she wasn't beautiful? Like, would it make a difference? Like
that's tough. Yes, it would make a difference. I'm not gonna lie and say it wouldn't. It would make a difference. But it's also, as shitty as this might sound, as king, I would probably be allowed to do stuff outside of marriage. So that's kind of like the thought process back then. Does that mean now? No. Am I a F-boy? No, but at least back then, I would live my kingly duties. Anyways, so we move along. So in the season 2, episode 1 does a great job of like setting up everything we're going to see with obviously the season, as most episode 1s do. We get introduced to the crown, right? You get to see Princess Augusta, who is the king's mother, and then all these different people within Parliament who have a say in like what's going down with his marriage and everything going on with the king. And it was interesting too to see like they didn't know she was black, like or as brown as she was, you know what I mean? So it was interesting to like hear that talk And then for them to be like, well, if she's gonna be this brown, we gotta make sure the ton looks the exact same. And so like that was something I found interesting as well, because again, in season 1 and season 2, it's just like assume that that's just kind of like how things are, right? Like the ton is mixed race. Like you see people at the different balls that Lady Danbury throws, and like there's black people with money, lords and ladies, and there's white people and Indian people and all types of races. But this show kind of pointed out the fact that that wasn't always the case. And so that was like a big eye opener for me, was the fact that they brought up race and like how much things changed over the years with Queen Charlotte's influence, just by being a Black woman in high society. Did you guys take that as well, or anything there? Any comments?
Yeah, I found it interesting that when she saw, or when the princess saw her, she was like, oh, well, she's brown. Well, ma'am, she's like, not light enough.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, like this is not what I really thought how this was. And and I know we'll talk about this later, but just like going and seeing that, okay, yeah, there were like white servants and stuff like that, but really there was no one like in like the higher ups that were going to be Black.
Yep.
And it was just interesting to see, even though and technically she wasn't even considered like brown. I would hate to think if she was as dark as us, like how she would have been treated. I feel like she would have been treated even worse, and it would have been bad for her.
Max. Gabby would have been fine. She was same skin as Gabby. So
I was looking out like she's not even that dark. We're the same shade. What are you?
Gabby is a little bit darker, so she probably would have been like.
That's funny.
No, but that was irritating. I'm like, she's not even that dark. What are you talking about? And then when she changed her painting to make it lighter, that pissed me off. I'm like, she's already light. What are you doing?
Yeah, I didn't like that either. I was like, it's real out here.
Yeah, race relations is definitely interesting. And so with that, in the palace, we get introduced to Brimsley, who is the queen's servant. He has an interesting like character arc as well as like a side character. But the real one in episode 1 we introduced to, which is my girl, Lady Danbury, she pops up episode 1. She's married to old man, but she wasn't like they became, so that was interesting too, because like you assume Lady Danbury's always just been a lady, but she became a lady, lord and lady, only because the queen was Black and they needed Black people to be in a ton, so they invited all these people that were Black to the celebration of the king and queen for their wedding, and then they became Lord and Lady Danbury. And in that situation, as far as like the old man, like that's a messed up situation. Like that, as a woman, you get married to this old dude, you know what I mean? Like that's tough. You know what I mean? If it doesn't happen to guys though, so like, it wouldn't be a situation for like me if that happened to me. But like I was like, man, this old dude, and she was still loyal to him too. I will get to that part, but she held that man down, even though she hated his guts. But yeah, so that was interesting seeing Lady Danbury, because she's obviously a main character within the Bridgerton series. You also see Princess Augusta I mentioned as well. And then we get the grand reveal of the king, right? King George. And so we see that in the garden where she's trying to climb this tree, that she's like, nobody's telling me about the king. F this, I'm out of this mug. And then she gets, I don't say she gets caught, but the king shows up. So I'm curious, what were you guys' thoughts when you guys first saw the king?
So because we didn't know he was the king yet, I was like, "Ooh, that guy's cute." I was like, "I wonder if there's gonna be something with her and this guy that looks like a guard."
My first like thing about him, I was like, "Why is he being nosy? Why is he like listening in that the queen's missing, and why is he so invested that she's trying to climb over this and he's not letting her?"
No, Sam. I was like, "Why are you all up in her business? Let her do her thing." Because I would have left too, and you stopping me from leaving.
Y'all would have left?
Yes, because no one was giving her any information. I'm like, she just wanted one question answered, and no one was telling her.
She did say he's probably horrible because nobody's telling me anything about him.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. So what was I gonna say? So with seeing the king again, let's put ourselves, I don't say put ourselves because I'm a man, But if y'all put yourselves inside Charlotte's situation, would y'all have still, with not just episode 1, not talking about the rest of the season, just with what you knew so far, would you have jumped over the wall still? Or would you be like, you know what? This dude's handsome, I'm gonna marry this man.
With the banter they had, because they did have like a small conversation, it wasn't bad, and he's not ugly, so yeah, I would have stayed. So I'm like, okay, now that I know a little bit about you, I don't mind as much. But also, if I would have found out what she found out, that he was crazy, I would have left. I would have taken some little jewelry and stuff, and I would have left.
I used to love that man with the quickness, man.
Like they say on Love Island, he had a good chat. A good chat.
I agree with Gabby. Like, they had their little conversation, and I do like how he put himself out there and was like, I like this, I do this, I love this, and like that made it a little bit more like, okay, let me like take it back a little bit. He's actually trying to get to know me or make me feel comfortable. So I'll stay.
Yeah.
I thought I love the scene. Like I loved it because the dude he came in so smooth. Like he's the king of England. Like if you think about it, like big perspective, this is a freaking king of England. And he's like, you can leave if you want to. Like climb over the wall. I hope you get over it, or you can come marry me. Your choice, right? And he's like just a smooth dude. I was like, King George, I see you, my boy. Like you got that riz. That boy got that riz. So I loved it. I loved it.
Oh yeah, I did like that part too. He actually gave her a choice, and no one else was giving her a choice.
Yeah, he did.
Well, so we realized though why, because like as the season progresses, like it shows his unwillingness to get married as well, because he didn't want to get married in the first place. So that kind of interesting too. So like that's kind of like full circle. It's like there's a reason why he gave her an out, just because he didn't want to get married himself.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. I like that scene. And obviously King George is the main focal point of this show outside of Queen Charlotte. So that's episode 1. It ends with some weirdness, right? So they get married. Everything seems to be normal. King George seems to be like this normal dude. Charlotte's like, okay, I'm gonna have this happy marriage. We obviously know it's not gonna be perfect. And then like he's like, hey, yeah, you're gonna stay here. This is your palace, and then I'm going to go over here. And she's like, what you mean? This is our honeymoon? Like, let it get down. And he's like, no, I'm going over here to where I stay, right? And you stay here. And so that was kind of weird. Like I when I was watching it, I was like, what's wrong with this dude? Honestly, to be frank, I thought he was gay. I was like, okay, there it is. He's gay. Because I also like to kind of give a backstory. Like I knew a little bit. Like I knew there was a love, like a two men that love each other, gay affair within the show. So, but I was like, okay, they made the King of England, like England gay. I was like, what is wrong with this situation? Like, why is he going somewhere else? So I feel like after watching episode 1, I'm like, what is going on? Like I just assumed they were like, I was like, oh, King of England's gay. That's what it is. That's what's going on in this episode. But that was kind of my thoughts on the episode. I thought
he was bipolar.
Thought he was bipolar, which technically he was.
Yeah, I was like, what the heck?
At that point, I was just like, he doesn't really like her. Like he just got married just to get married. Then he's like, all right, bye.
Yeah, like he manipulated her.
Yeah, no, I thought he was just gonna go mess around with other women at that point.
Yeah.
Or dudes. I thought he was gay.
I didn't think he was gay. I just thought he just had issues. I was like, okay, you're weird.
No, I think I
I'm like,
why
are you being mean now?
Say that again?
I like he switched up fast from like when they first met. I'm like, why are you being mean now? What's wrong with you?
Seriously. I like that oh shoot. Whenever they had her like his mom was like so mean, and she got to like meet his mom, and she was like, they were like basically telling her like she couldn't wear the dress she wanted, like any of that stuff. And I like that at the end she ended up wearing the dress that she wanted. And like you could really see like her fashion and all that stuff too. Like I love the fashion in the show as well. Her style.
Would you wear some of those dresses yourself, Leslie? Like if you had access to them, would you wear them?
Definitely.
I can see you walking around like this big like ball gown everywhere, you know. Streets of downtown Dallas, you see Leslie walk around like in a corset and all these different styles. Hey, Scarlett.
She watched it with me too, so.
yeah, I love to hear. I'm excited to hear Scarlett's take too. Cool. So now we move on to episode 2. So episode 2 was very, very, very lonely. So we start off and she's just by herself. It's the honeymoon episode, but a majority of this episode she just spent walking around her house. And it was stupid because I was like, they are dressing her up. Like, why is she getting dressed? I guess back then there was no like lounge clothes. There was nothing you could just like lounge around. Like you couldn't throw on some shorts and a t-shirt or anything. Like she had to wear like a full ball gown, corset, get your hair done, just to go sit at the table and then do nothing. Like there was no cell phone back then, no social media, no video games, nothing to distract her. So literally it was just be like, hey, what you doing today? I'm just gonna walk around the house for 10 hours and then fall asleep. Right. So that was her honeymoon. It was day after day after day, she's by herself. How would y'all feel if y'all were in that situation? Like
Mad.
okay.
Mad. Why are we
Elaborate,
dressing up?
Gabby? Why mad was the first
Why
thing
are we
you said.
dressing me up? Make me put on clothes when we're not doing nothing. I'm not talking to nobody. I can't see anybody. I'm seeing the same 5-6 people eating regular food by myself, and y'all having me dress up. No, I'm fighting all of you. Get out of my face.
Yep. And then she couldn't even pick her own orange.
Bro, I'm like
But see, that was the moment, like that episode where I was like, this is why she's pissed all the time. This is why, as an adult, she's just like, I don't care about anybody. I'm just mad because literally you spend your whole honeymoon when you're supposed to be with your husband and be lovey-dovey, and you're by yourself. And I'm sure I would have felt unloved.
no, yeah, for sure. That's why I wasn't mad at her when she was like, all right, we're going over to his place because this don't make no sense. Like she lasted longer than me because it would have been one day. It's like, okay, we're done with this. Let's go.
She definitely lasted longer than me. I just stayed by herself.
How long would y'all? So you said a day, Gabby? Leslie, how long would you have lasted?
It
by
is a
yourself
day. That's it. Because I already didn't want to get married, and you left me by myself. I'm done.
Right.
You had one chance, you ruined it.
So with that being said, after a day, would y'all have left, or y'all like would you need closure and answers from him, or would you just be like, I'm done with this marriage, I'm out of here? Y'all would jump
I
up the wall.
done what she said, where she was like, take me to the king's palace, something like that.
Yeah, no, because I would have cussed him out. Like, what are you doing? That was so important that you had to leave our honeymoon and leave me by myself.
Right. And then it was for the dumbest reason. He's like, I'm looking at the stars.
Was.
You know what? I would have given him 2 days. One day so he can come to his senses, and the second day he's not coming, then I'm going to him, and I need my answers of why you're not wanting to be with me. And and I forgot if that like that whole scene of like when her coming over there was episode 3 or episode 2, but I would have been pissed seeing the reason why you didn't want to come and hang with me and be with me.
Yeah. So no, that's episode 2. That's actually the next point I was gonna bring up is she does after I don't know how many days it was, but she's like, she realized she's on her honeymoon, her man ain't there, she's eating dinner by herself every single day. I would have been so freaking bored in the house by myself. And then she pulls up. She says, you know what? We're pulling up. Like one thing about Queen Charlotte is I'm realizing she's a real one. Like Queen Charlotte is about that action always. Like we gonna get answers. I'm pulling up. We getting shit done today. Like we're not playing around. So alpha woman, what is a choleric woman for sure. But yeah, so she pulled up on
I don't think that she was choleric or alpha. I think she was just fed up.
No, she was definitely because as we get more to the season, like she starts being boss. I mean, she runs the crown now. Like as she's older now, she runs the crown. Right?
Yeah, but she has no choice. Like I think that was by choice because she was kind of like funny and like, I'm not gonna say she was like very like kind of laid back, but she definitely wasn't choleric. I think she got put in that situation, or she got like that because of the situation that she was in. She had no choice to be.
True. Something I didn't bring up earlier too, as far as like episode 1, is we also get like a mixture of like the present day with Bridgerton and then like old school Queen Charlotte. And so we see in episode 1 as well is that the heir, the grandbaby to Queen Charlotte and King George is dead, and she has like 15 different kids that ain't got no kids, right? And by the way, TikTok has me saying that freaking the princesses have had no babies. The princes have had a record number of babies, illegitimate whore babies. I literally like I've learned this freaking thing because it's in my head. I say this every single day. I'm like illegitimate whore babies. But But yeah, so that's something too. Is like I found it interesting too how they kind of weave in the story of like what's going on present day Bridgerton and like her current family, and then like what's going on now. So that's also kind of why I was like, why is this like? That's also I guess I also didn't think he was gay as well because like she has all these kids with him. So like something has to happen for her to have all these kids. So I was also interested in that as well. And that's kind of like why I was trying to figure out like why is she being so lonely? Like why is he not being with her if they have 13, 15 kids, however many it was.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to talk about this now, but like the whole kid situation, I was like, of all the 13 kids, one of them looked like they were mixed. The rest of them looked white.
No, bring it up. Let's talk about it.
I don't care how white you are or how light you are, that melanin is still gonna pull in those kids. And all of those kids look white, but that one girl.
No, there was the one son too. There was a son that like you could tell he looked like he was still a little like he was still, you know, but he could tell he had the look of like he looked like Lenny Kravitz, but like lighter skinned.
I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look, but I don't remember any of her kids but that one.
Yeah.
Being black.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's Michael Jackson situation going on. I have no idea. Michael Jackson's kids are white, and it's like these are his kids. How this man is dark. He was dark at least. But yeah, so it was interesting to see the kids. But so yeah, so to bring it back to what we're talking about. So she pulls up on King George, right? And she goes in, and this man's like, "Oh, I've just been chilling, looking at the stars." And I was like, "You've been what, my guy? Like you just been sitting there. You have a whole wife, right? You haven't consummated the marriage. You just been chilling, watching the stars." Again, when the Kingsmen had ran from the conservatory, I was like, "Oh, something's going down in the conservatory. He's getting it in. He's doing something wild in that conservatory." And he's looking at the stars. And I'm like, what is with this guy? Like I literally was so confused. And so how did y'all feel about that? Because I was so confused.
I was like, this man literally, if I were in her shoes, I'd be like, man, this man literally hates me, hates the color of my skin, something to where he would rather watch the stars than literally sleep with me and make babies with me. And I was with her when she's like, I'd rather you be with all these whores than watching the stars, know that you're just in here looking at the stars.
No, yeah. I was like, bro, stars over me? Are you serious?
Stars over me.
No. At least choose a person. I don't care. That would have made me less mad. But stars, you can't even reach those. Ain't nothing.
Stars, you can't reach those. I'm right here. Right.
Here's your star.
Right.
Literally, yes, I should be your star.
That's funny. That's a great quote. Stars over me? That's fantastic. But he did give her a dog. So, you know.
That ugly dog that she didn't want. What did she call it? A deformed rabbit?
Deformed bunny.
Yeah.
Like she did not want that dog. She
was
liked
not good enough. I feel like that was a good present. You know, he gave her a dog. Like
I didn't want a dog. I wanted him. Like no.
You're lonely. Here's your dog. Like, you know, because women. I mean, I feel like a lot of single women have dogs. Am I wrong?
The thing is, though, she's not single.
I mean, he's treating her like she's single. Like he's treating her like, hey, we ain't together.
Exactly. That's why she was pissed off at that dog.
Right, like of all things, you give me a dog. You don't even give me yourself. Like that's your gift to me. Like, this will make you less lonely. Here, go ahead and get this dog.
That's funny, Leslie. So just catch you up. We are talking about how she pulled up on King George, and he wasn't with some girl or some guy. He was just chilling, looking at the stars. How would that have made you feel, knowing he just left you to go look at stars for how many days?
I'd be really confused. I'd be like, there's something wrong with you. What's going on over here?
Elaborate. What do you like what would you do? Like would you just be like, you're dumb? Or like what would you say though?
I think probably a very similar reaction to Charlotte. She's like, when she was like, you prefer this guy to me, something, and she was just like kind of like going off on him, like asking him like, why are you here doing this instead of like being with me?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, she literally poured out her heart to him in that scene, I feel like, and told him like what's wrong with me? Like, is there something wrong with me? Like, why are you wanting to be here with me? Like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And yeah. And then you guys were talking about how she gave him this dog, which she called a bunny. But I don't know.
Yeah.
But then whenever, yeah, I think going into it a little bit more like with this pre episodes, that's like, I like that they made it mysterious, you know, throughout the first episodes about like, why is he gone? Like, it's just like, it didn't make sense. Like, none of it made sense, I feel like, whenever I was watching it.
Yeah, and it made you want to keep watching. So I agree with
Yeah.
that. Like as much as I hated what was going on for Queen Charlotte, like I was watching it and I was like, damn, like I'll understand why she's so pissed off now, because like this dude is just leaving, like she is by herself, going stir crazy, and husband yelled at her twice, like get the hell away from me, basically. I'm gonna do my own thing, you know. It's crazy. Like Gabby said, I'm your star, you know. Like what you mean? But again, she does so then we see the start of her relationship with Lady Danbury, and reaching out to her, them becoming friends. Lady Danbury drawing drawings to show her what should be going down right now, because she had no clue. That was wild. But we also see Lady Danbury. Say that again.
You need to consummate your marriage.
Yeah, and the man was not willing to do it until.
But did you notice that whenever they found out that they weren't, like the princess found out that they weren't together, she's like, is the deed done? Is the contract done? Like it was just all transactional.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I wonder like the time frame that was going to be given for them to do that. Like what would have happened if they didn't do it within the time frame?
Well, I think there's like actually like a legal thing behind it. I don't know about today, like today's society, but I know for sure like back then it was like within a week of marriage, like you should consummate the marriage. Like you have to like have there is a time frame. I don't know exactly. I haven't studied it, but I remember in some show it was like if you don't consummate it within like a certain time frame, like the marriage is null and void.
That's crazy.
Wasn't there a part where they said like she would get beheaded if she didn't have a kid, or was that a different show?
Yeah, I mean, sounds similar in England. I mean, King was it King
I
Edward?
remember someone saying that she's like, you need to consummate or you're gonna get beheaded because they don't want just a regular queen with no kids.
There was a king that had 6 wives and he killed 3 of them or something like that. And I forgot his name. I think it was King George, but not this King George, a different King George. But it was a show. There was a whole show about it with Anne Boleyn, all these different characters. I don't know why I watch all these old like medieval stuff. Just in like that's what I as much as like Bridgerton's like a love story and romance story. I love it because it's like medieval. Like I think that's why. Like I don't know why I love this show, but I do, and I watch it, and I'm like, dang. Like also, there's some player lines in the show too. So I'm like taking down in my journal. I'm like, I'm gonna use this like Riz journal, add in these lines, right? Like I burn for you or whatever Buddy said from season 1. That is
that was good.
I know.
Yeah, that was
the second
my
one was
heart
better.
burns for you.
Exactly.
Y'all
Riz,
don't give Savon satisfaction.
I'm sorry, but he's right. Those were good.
Right, King of Riz. Like, but as much as people talk about season, we'll get there as far as this season goes. Of like how romantic that last scene was. It's like it was Charlotte driving it. He was just like, "I love you." That's literally. Anyways, we'll get to that. But yeah. So again, I love the show because 1 is medieval, but 2, the Riz journal is loading. But so talking about Lady Danbury, she starts a relationship with the Queen Charlotte, but she also is a little sneaky. She goes and talks to Princess Augusta and is like, "Let me, help." She leverages her resources to the best of her ability. But my question to you guys is: would you say Lady Danbury is a good friend because of that? Like,
I thought that she was her friend. In my opinion, it seemed like more she was just using her just to get out of the situation she was in, which wasn't bad because her situation was kind of trash. I don't blame her for that. But as for like being a friend, it's like no. There were times where she felt sorry for her, so she decided to do the right thing. But past that, I think they didn't really get a friendship until after that stuff happened.
I think she was being a friend to her, but then again, she knew that she needed to go and like not get out of her situation, but make her situation with Lord Danbury better so they can be higher society. So she did what she had to do with the princess to ensure that they were taken care of no matter what. So I think that's the difference. She befriended her, but then she's like, okay, well, I still have this information, but I still need to take care of myself.
So with that being said, would you want Lady Danbury as your friend?
I will say that she didn't end up. I don't think she told the princess that they hadn't consummated their marriage.
No,
I think
did.
she found out. Yeah, I don't think she did. I think when she found out.
No. Lady Danbury snitched.
She did snitch?
Yeah.
No, because she said, I'm not sure.
Yeah, she said, I'm not
or
sure.
She didn't tell me.
She snitched.
Yeah.
How else did they find out? There's no other way for her to find out.
Oh yeah, because the mom did go up to the king and like start asking him because
she was like because when she found out that they didn't consummate the marriage yet, that's why again we'll get to that point, like they have sex at the end of the episode, and that's why is because he's like, okay, well my mom and he's loyal to the crown, so I'm gonna do this for the crown.
Yeah, I think the son snitched on himself. I don't think Lady Danbury said anything from what I remember.
I think from Lady Danbury saying, I don't know. Will I get this if I tell you? Like she was still like trying to make sure that she was going to be good before she was going to spill anything to the princess. And then the princess was like, okay, I'm pretty much done talking to you. Let me just find out for myself, for my son.
So, okay, if that's the case, then how does Lord Danbury start getting access to all this different stuff if she never snitched? Because he gets access to everything she wanted.
She was getting access before that point of consummating the marriage.
He was not, because he was complaining about like the way even though he's part of a ton, he's not getting invited to like these hunting parties. He's not getting access to these different clubs. Like he was complaining. That's why she brought up the fact that my husband needs to be respected. And that's why I said she rides for her husband. Like as much as you hate that man, she was like, my husband needs respect. You need to invite him to these hunting parties. You need to do all this other stuff. So that's why, like, in my mind, that's why I thought she snitched.
She was talking to the princess about other things as well, like that was going on in the marriage that she knew that was coming from the queen before they started talking about consummating. And then that's when the queen was like, okay, I'll give you this. I'll give you the name. I'll have people coming. And then the party that she threw, that came from her talking to Queen Charlotte saying, no one's coming to my party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she told everyone, hey, I'm going, you need to be going. So that's how that happened.
Yeah, but I think what she was telling the princess at that time was like, she was telling her like, oh, like, the queen feels very alone, like blah, 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 blah. Like I remember her telling her that, but I don't think she purposely told her like, okay, the marriage was not consummated.
Okay, well, my bad. Let me trust Black women. So I thought she snitched though, because I'm like, man, Lady Danbury. Like I understand it, like especially back in that time frame. Like you need to, if you have a chance to be a lord versus being a peasant, that's a whole different lifestyle. So
yeah,
I get
using out for herself, but she was also like she wasn't saying too much to get the queen in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, look out for herself and her husband. Again, as terrible of a man that dude was, like she took care of that man. She rode for the husband. What
I find so wild is that she was doing all this stuff behind the scenes, and he's like, "Oh, it's because I did this or I said this," and she just let him have it. I'm like, "Girl, you didn't get none of your flowers at all."
I mean, that was her life.
He thought it was all him.
That was her entire life. She just laid there the whole time.
That was so sad. That was so sad.
For everything in life, she just took it. So anyways, but that's I mean, we talked about it. So he finally shows up, right, at the end of the season, at the end of the episode, and I'm like, man, this is finally happening. Like he finally got over himself. Like whatever the hell's going down, like it's over. Like they finally consummate the marriage. He's gonna be good. And then last thing we see at the end of the episode, after everything, like lovey-dovey stuff that happens, is like him talking to his mom and like, you know, I only did this because, you know, I'm loyal. I did what I need to do. And it's like, here we go again, man. It's just like, this girl can catch a break. That was my thought. Was like, this girl can catch a break. But I thought that was like going to be not the end of it, but at least they address it. And then episode 3, they don't really address it. It's just like, they're just like, we're just mad at each other, but we're still loyal to the crown. And we're going to do what we need to do to get it done. But episode 2 kind of ends. I don't know. I just felt sad afterwards. I was like, this sucks. Everything was just like a loneliness for the queen. And I was like, I understand.
Yeah. You were like, I understand.
Yeah, I was like, I understand loneliness. Well, we move into episode 3, and episode 3 was, I said it before, say it again, a lot of sex. That's all it was between the king and queen. And they literally were like, it's an even day, so we're getting down, right? That was kind of the thought process. But outside of like that piece of the story, them trying to like have an heir, doing their deal, like loving each other, and then they were like, okay, forget the even days, we're just gonna do it all the time. We also get like more of a backstory of Lady Danbury as well. And so you get to see how miserable she is in her marriage. And you guys already touched on it as well. Super miserable in the marriage, but she stood by her dude, right? She was a great woman. And again, my favorite character in the show was Lady Danbury because she was a boss as well. Both of the women in the show were bosses, honestly. Right? Like I know Jasmine feels very strong. We want to talk about the women in the show, Jasmine. How as a black woman, how did these black women make you feel? Because Lady Danbury was dark skinned too. Like she wasn't light skinned, she was dark skinned woman. Moving.
I say this and I say this so many times. I'm like, I don't care what people say about black women, they always ride for their man. It doesn't matter what happens, how trifling the man is, what the man does to them, they always ride for their man. And black women do not get enough credit for that. And that shows both in Queen Charlotte and Lady Danbury that Queen Charlotte was like, my man, I'm gonna stand by him, whatever. You know, we'll get to that later. But then Lady Danbury was like, well, if I'm gonna be put into the situation, let me just make the best of this so my man feels like he's wanted and loved within this society.
Even though it kind of backfired on her because you get really excited.
Right.
She had to take 3 baths in one day.
She hated having sex with that man. Like she was just dreading it every single time. Sure. And I'm like, that's miserable. Like, but you still riding for this man.
Taking care of her. I mean, she also benefited too. I mean, obviously not from that part of it, but like from the societal status, like getting to be friends with the queen as his perks, talking to the crown, like you have a chance to solidify your place in society. I mean, that's why I mentioned that as well in my notes here. It's just like she solidifies her place in the ton, right? With the ball, like you talked about the ball earlier, like that ball. I love that ball scene because one, it showcases like, okay, Lady Danbury has finally arrived. Like she is the Lady Danbury that we know of from today's shows, like from season 1 and season 2. But then also like you see the racial relation barriers start to break down, right? Like you at the beginning of the ball, everybody's against the walls and nobody's really dancing besides the king and queen when they're there, or they're dancing like with their significant others, like black people here, white people here. And so with like that ball, it kind of shows you the ton actually intermingling and those racial relations breaking down. And it starts with old Cheater McGee himself, Lord Ledger. He's like, let me get your hand, Lady Danbury, let's dance, right? And we'll get to Lord Ledger here in a bit. But I love the scene because, like, again, we talked about already with the show is like, for me, the one thing I always noted about the show and love about the show was the fact that it was always just a show that would just happen to have black people in it. Like, it wasn't like this big deal of like racial wars or whatever. But like seeing the backstory of like how it even got to that point in society where everybody accepts each other, it was for me, it was beautiful. Like I love that ball scene because it kind of showcased that. So outside of the queen and king, you know, trying to make their heir and just kind of doing their deal, like that for me was kind of one of the biggest things that set out for episode 3.
Didn't at the end of this episode they ended up saying that he was just gonna, or was he already staying there? Did he already move back to?
No, yeah, he moved back. So when they first consummated the marriage, he moved back, and so that's when like every single day like they were arguing, but there were even days they'd be doing the deed.
Yeah, and then Mr. What was her guardman's?
Brimsley.
Brimsley.
Brimsley was I like Brimsley. Brimsley was fun, and yeah, he was getting it in sneakily with his that. So that speaking of that, that was the reveal of the season was also that relationship between the Kingsman, which I don't remember the Kingsman's name. I should have probably notated that, and then the Queensman, which is Brimsley, that they had a gay relationship all the while this is going down, and Brimsley is kind of like this small guy, and the other guys like this. I don't know. They're both small dudes, but that also was a big deal for the season. I know, a lot of people watch the show and like they love that relationship, whatever. I mean, it is what it is with it for me. But I was like, it's interesting to see, like they add that in there, and like there's all this big relationship, but then also like the small relationship as well on the side.
I feel like the Kingsman was trifling.
Why?
Like, because Brimsley is trying to figure out, because Brimsley doesn't know what's going on either.
And he
So
cares about the Queen.
he's over here trying to figure out, okay, well, you give this note to the king or tell me what's going on. He's like, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. And and Brimley's like, well, I'm leaving the queen in the dark, and I'm starting to have love for this woman that I can't even give her this information for.
Yeah.
So that's why I said that he was trifling.
But he was loyal. That's just loyalty. Like he was loyal to the king. He was loyal to the king. That's his job. Like
he was loyal. Right, exactly. That was
his job is to be loyal to the king. That's it. That's his only job. Like I know that was his dude, but his job is to be loyal. Like he has one job, and it's the biggest job in England is to protect the king, all his secrets and everything.
But he ain't even protect him. It's like he went through all that and he didn't really do nothing.
Right.
Like,
he wasn't really
affecting him more, if anything.
Right.
What y'all mean? The Kingsman took care of the king. This dude was going crazy.
He did, but he wasn't doing what was best for the king, and that's also the job of the Kingsman as well.
He should have told the queen a lot sooner that he was getting tortured by that doctor.
It was what he wanted, though. Like, and now speaking of that, so perfect talking about, because we're actually about to segment into that episode. So at the end of episode 3, we actually get to find out what the hell has been going on with the king and why the hell is this crap going down. Like, that's not, again, like Leslie said earlier, like the mystery captured me. I'm like, what is with this guy? What is going on? It's not a relationship. It's not like, I'm like, what is going on? And so we finally see that, he's living with Charlott, and he runs out into the farm or wherever it was that he lived, and all his plants, and he's like naked. He's like looking up at the stars. He's trying to find his star, Jupiter. He was like, Jupiter or Venus. No, it was Venus.
Oh yeah, it was Venus.
He was like Venus. He was like calling to Venus, all this other stuff, and you see him crazy. And you see Charlotte, regardless of how crazy it was, take care of him. Right. And so that's the end of episode 3, as we find out that, okay, that's what's been going down, is this dude's actually effing crazy. And I guess he just didn't want Charlotte to know. So that was very interesting. But speaking of episode, we get to episode 4, but I guess let me pause. Any additional thoughts on episode 3? Comments, key moments? Anything you want to touch on?
I think with finding out that he was crazy and why he was crazy, I think that makes that moment even sweeter, that he was trying to protect his wife of knowing who he really was and didn't want her to see that he was crazy. And I'm like, that's also kind of love too.
Is it touching though? But he's also
I don't want you to see the bad part of me, because you're going to really look at me a different way. So I'm just going to shun myself from you to protect you from that. And in a sense, I'm not saying that like that's love, but like he really didn't want her to see that side of him.
But my question is, I guess to spin off that, would you want to know 100% of your husband? You know what I mean? Like so like is it love if I'm showing
But no, but that's a pride thing of men, that I don't want to look weak in front of my woman. So I would want to know, but they don't like showing that side.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean, regardless of sex, like I feel like women or men, like they like you would want to know everything about like your husband or wife. Like I don't want to be blindsided by like oh, this person, I thought they were this, and then they didn't even show me this part of my life. So like, is it love that he didn't show her the crazy side of him, or is it like you said, pride? And I would say,
I think it was a protection thing of I really don't want her to see this side of me. So that's why he like completely shunned her into a whole other house. So so she couldn't see that because he
Leslie,
knew he was crazy.
comments?
I think they also touched on it. I don't know if it was the episode afterwards, but like whenever he talked about how his mom told him that he couldn't share this with anybody. And like that's why she was trying to get him married off so soon, because they thought his condition was gonna worsen and he wouldn't be able to get married and, you know, pass on the crown and all that stuff. But I remember after I watched that episode, like I searched up like what is this illness that he has, and like I was trying to figure out like if it was like something technical that I could look into. But yeah, I do think part of it was manipulation and he was just listening to his mom. But then once he got married to her, like Jasmine said, like he like realized like, oh, like this girl's actually really smart, like she's actually really cool. Like I don't know if I want her to see this side of me.
I don't think it was manipulation, because he did say like when he first met her, he did like her. I think it was more he was hiding the fact so she wouldn't be scared and run off again.
Well, he manipulated her into marrying him because she didn't tell him. He didn't tell her
Well,
that,
that wasn't
hey, I
really
have
him.
this.
That was the mom and her brother. Because he didn't really want it either at first.
His free will.
Because of his
He said
condition.
something.
Yeah. Well,
That's why Charlotte was mad at him, but she also loved him.
Yeah, to that point, like you're right. Like I forgot about that. Like it was a secret of the crown, because if anybody found out that he was crazy, like he would lose his status as king. Like they would replace him as king.
Yeah.
Like Parliament would replace him as king.
Mhm.
So that makes sense on like why he chose not to tell her. But it's also like he doesn't trust her. Like you're my wife now, I don't trust you. You know. So that probably. I mean, if my queen was crazy and she didn't want to tell me, I'd be like, you don't trust me? Like I'll hold your secrets. Your secrets are safe with me, as the song says. So anyways, that was, and you're right, Leslie. So the next episode 4, it goes into the backstory of like what the hell is going on with the king. Like what everybody really wants to know is like, this what's going on with this dude. So it tells the backstory of the king leading up to marriage, right? He's had some situation going on with his brain. They've implored different doctors that have done like all types of crazy stuff to him over the years, like bleeding him, just all type of like old medieval medicine that people used to do back in the day. And then they find this like psychology doctor who's like, I can just teach him how, like, you just have to talk to his inner person and tell him what to do. And so it works for like a little bit, so that now he believes that this doctor actually knows what he's doing. And so like it's, as much as like we talk about like, the doctor and like all the torture he went through, it's like if that's what you knew worked, it's like that's what you have to do. You know, like that makes sense. Like that was my thought, like of like, see, episode 4 was like this, because you see it the entire time, like him dealing with the doctor and then him going away from the doctor, and then obviously in the end of the episode he goes back to the doctor. But like the doctor was curing him. Like as much as, you know, we don't want to talk about that, he actually, it helped his schizophrenia or whatever, bipolar disease or whatever it was. Cause I looked it up too, Leslie. It did say, some people said bipolar, some people said some other stuff as well. Yeah, cause I was curious. I was like, did this really happen to King George? Like how true is the story? So episode 4 was interesting. It was a backstory about the king leading up to the marriage, and then obviously everything that went through that we saw as well. So with the backstory, how did that make y'all feel about the king? I know we touched on it a little bit, but like, how did it make you feel about all the stuff he did to Queen Charlotte?
I think in that episode, like they touched on like his backstory, like even as a kid, and like the mom started talking about how terrible his dad was, and like how he would beat her and like beat him too. And so like it started to make sense, because like trauma precedes trauma. So like people who have gone through trauma typically, like they don't heal and don't have like the resources, they intend to like hurt people. So hurt people. And so like it was all starting to like make sense to me, and I felt really bad for him. I was like, oh no, like that's sad. So that's how I felt about it.
I was saddened, because it's like, dang, he can't really catch a break on this stuff, and the things that he liked to do, the mom found it as like peasantry, like him going into working into the farm and stuff. But that's how he kind of find his peace. And
Oh, my George.
yeah, how he, released and, got away from all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was sad. I was like, dang, you kind of going through it. But I'm like, I feel like she could have helped a bit more. She was just told beforehand. But I get why they didn't say it.
Yeah, I mean, it was like we said, what we talked about already. It was a crown secret, so that makes sense. But he also didn't want to be crazy for her, and like he like I don't know, like his decision to be like, if I can't be sane, I don't want her to be with me. I feel like that was just like that was tough. Like it's supposed to be your wife. You have to, I don't want to say trust her enough because he doesn't know her, but like that decision to just make that decision like I can't be sane, so therefore I can't have you can't have me, something like that. I was like, I won't call it dumb, but I didn't like that decision. That was my
No, you're
thought.
right. That was dumb because I'm like, it's my choice if I want to like you, if you're crazy or not. Let me choose.
So with that being said, if you were, now that you know the backstory of the king, if you were Queen Charlotte, would you still have stayed?
Mm.
Would I have stayed if once she found out, or if she found out before she married him?
No. Once you found out, because like they were now married, and like after everything you went through, now you guys have been doing the deal, and like you love him and all this other stuff. Like, would you, now that you know like what's been going on now, like would you have stayed?
Yeah, I would have. I think at that point she was already in love with him, and like he's a down to earth person, even though he is a king. Like you said, he's Farmer George. He likes to read, all that stuff. Like I think that's who she fell in love with, and like that's who she fell in love with whenever she saw him and she was going up and she was about to run away. Like she saw that he was like this normal down to earth guy. Like he wasn't like, he's like, I don't call me king, I'm George.
I think I would have stayed and been like, okay, well, what can we do to fix this? Let's figure out how, we can maybe turn this around, or what medicines can we use to help you and stuff like that.
Yeah, same. I would have stayed at that point because I'm like, you're
already invested
beside you.
You didn't already dealt with so much.
Yeah, I'm like, we've already gone through all this stuff. I don't want to start over. We already in this.
But there was no medicine. There was no medicine.
Whatever tactics that we can use to fix it. I'm not gonna lie, I would be mad because I'm like, you could have told me this from the beginning and saved me a whole bunch of heartbreak from being by myself. And you not telling me, it just makes me mad, but I understand why you did it.
So you said you'd be open to talking about whatever way you can get better. So you have been cool with this torture they went through.
No.
That's the way. But that's what helped him.
But she didn't know that at that point that he was being tortured. She didn't know that until later, when Brimsley found out that he was actually being tortured. I would have been putting it upon myself to be like, okay, what have you done to try to help the situation? What can we do to help the situation? But he wasn't going to be open that he was being tortured.
Yeah, because even at the end, she even told him, she's like, he's good with me. He's better when he's with me, and she just had him like stay with her. Yeah. And with the days that he was good, he was good. The times that he was bad, but at least he wasn't being tortured. Like I don't think the torture thing was helping him at all. Yeah. Like that was just making him miserable and crazy at the same time. Like
at first it was, but they took it too far, is what it was.
I think the problem is, back in those days they didn't know how to combat, being bipolar. So they're like, okay, the only way for me to do that is to just torture it out of you, so you don't even think about doing that. And I think that puts into a good point of mental health, that even there was mental health back then, and they didn't know how to deal with it and what things to make it better.
Yeah,
at that time.
Yeah.
They also didn't accept it. Like if you were crazy, you can't have a mad king. So
right.
Yeah, this episode watching the torture stuff was tough for me. I'm like, this is crazy. They got this man biting this freaking thing. Like I was like, I don't want to know what's going down in that room.
Drowning him.
Yeah.
Which actually, so the water part didn't seem that bad. It looked like a cold plunge. I was like, this man just in ice. It's just a cold plunge. Like when he did the water thing, like yes, but he was just like in the tub and it was like cold. And I was like, that's a cold plunge. It's not, mental health battle there.
Yeah, but then when you're holding him under the water for multiple
the under the water thing, yes.
Pulling him up and then pushing him back down, like that is torture, Savon.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm talking about just when he was sitting in the ice. It was one time where he was just sitting in the ice, like super cold ice. So episode 4 is tough because you see the backstory about him. You see him like he does get to a point like when they're together when he's like, oh, I'm good. I don't need this guy anymore, this doctor. And then like that happens episode 3. He realizes he went crazy, and then you see him go back to the doctor, and he's like, strap me in the chair, and it goes down even further. So episode 5 kicks off. And we really just see, when I say episode 5 is we just see Lady Danbury living her best life. So episode 3, Buddy Boy, yeah, single lady, Buddy Boy died. Lord Danbury died episode 3, doing the deal, just killed over during sex. And so she was super elated. She was like, I'm finally free. I'm a lady. I got this bread. I'm high society. Talking to her what is it, servant, her, I don't know what to call her lady that takes care of her. Her maid.
Yeah,
She was a real one too. Her maid was a real one too. She was like, I got you, like always. All these women just holding people down, it's like, dang, man. But yeah, so Lady Danbury just living her best life. Now she had a situation go down where, now that Lord Danbury is dead, she has to like regain her status as lady. She has to talk to Princess Augusta and like say, hey, I need you to help me out. But she's like, you gotta help me out as well. Like, let me watch your back. Like, it's like a battle of wits between them two. But outside of that, Lady Danbury is living her best life, going on walks with married man Lord Ledger, talking to the Queen's brother. And so like, I don't know, Lady Danbury, to me, I was like, this girl's out here. She wilding. So again, Lady Danbury, she was my favorite character this entire show. So like, what were y'all's thoughts when Lady Danbury kissed Lord Ledger, and then later in the episode they get together?
I don't support adultery, but in this case, I was happy for her.
Oh my god!
Because she said she never had a good time while she was doing it. She was like, as I remember when she was talking, she was like, "Does it feel good?" And she was like, "I don't know. It's never felt good for me."
That was so sad.
She felt so much trauma when she was laying down and looking at the ceiling. She's like, "Nope, let me flip."
Mm-hmm.
She's like, let me enjoy this, and she got hers. Let me just tell you that. After that,
Lord Ledger, yeah, I was as soon as I saw him going for walks, I was like, okay, this is about to go down. But I also didn't realize who he was. Like, I was like, until like the situation with the hats, and then he said that, and I was like, is that her dad? And then she says like, what's the mom's name in Bridgerton? Violet. He was like Violet, and I was like, oh, that's the mom. That's Lady Bridgerton. So that was a crazy like correlation.
That was so wild. I'm like,
no,
I like how they connected the two shows.
Yeah, and it explains also why Lady Danbury is kind of like in Violet's life as well. Like, they've been connected for years. Not just because, like, obviously, she's a well-known lady within the ton, but like, he's known Violet since she was a little girl. And seeing her, blossom, and then obviously, just being part of the family, like, it makes so much sense on why like Lady Danbury's character has her claws in like the royalty, but also within like the Bridgerton family, and why she shows up so much. And then seeing that conversation between, I don't know, I felt kind of weird listening to two old ladies talk about their gardens in bloom. I was like, y'all like 60. Like, I understand y'all
they're
women.
not 60.
Like, y'all like 60. No, they're probably
Come
50. Lady Danbury is like 50.
You're acting like women don't have needs. Like,
No,
like,
but I'm saying, like, that's my grandma. That's my mother. Like, I don't want to hear my mom talking about her gardens in bloom. Like, fun fact, during
I don't know.
During Mother's Day, I'm telling a story. This is on a podcast, so it is what it is, Mom. Sorry if you're watching this, Mom. I'm sorry, I'm outing you. But during Mother's Day, my family was over. Everybody was drinking, and my mom was all like, she was all mad because like her husband, my stepdad, hadn't got her any gifts, and like for Mother's Day, because she's a big gift. Like, her love language is gifts, and so she's like, he hasn't got me anything, blah blah. Because I got her gifts, like everybody got her gifts, but he hadn't got her anything. She was like making jokes out of it and like being passive aggressive. And then like he finally brings it out, gives her this nice gift. It was like nice, I don't know, bracelet or something. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you, blah blah blah." And then everybody's like making jokes, like, "You've been talking all this crap basically all day, and then now you got your gift." And then he's like, "Now what you got to say?" And she was like, "Oh, he's gonna get his thank you later." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, mom, I don't want to hear this. Like, you're 50, and I don't want to. You're my mother as well. Like, I understand how I was here. Like, I understand what had to happen for me to be here, but still, I don't want to hear about an old lady's garden in bloom." So that was my thought process on that. But I get it. Like, Violet had her husband die, and she's like, I need it. So
I think the other reason why I wasn't too mad at Lady Danbury is because I knew how Violet's mom was. And she was just a hater. Like, she just hated on Lady Danbury. She just hated that everything was getting mixed together. She didn't like that, there was Black people, at the, fancy events and stuff like that. And I like that Mr. Ledger was like supporting the movement, and I think he really did fall in love with Lady Danbury, but he stayed loyal to taking care of his family in the end.
I don't know if y'all noticed this, but before they even started going for walks, like even at the ball, he was hitting on her, and she was
like, I thought they were gonna do it that episode, but they didn't. They waited until he died.
I was like, dang, okay, Danbury, I see you. So I mean, it wasn't surprising to me that they were going on walks and getting to know each other, and then they do it, and then the next time that they were supposed to come, then Violet pops up, and she's like, "Dang, just couldn't get mine today," but. So
I did think it was funny when they intertwined like the two, and then like you see that like, and then Violet starts figuring out that like, because she talks about how, because Lady Danbury was telling her that she never felt that way with her husband, and so she's like, "Well, who did you feel that way with?" And so she started
did not say nothing.
Well, she said the Queen's brother to throw her off at first, because she did date the Queen's brother as well. So that
but that came out later, because she was like, well, who did you? And she was just like, whatever. Did you not know that I dated the Queen's brother? I said, okay, Danbury,
living her best life. She was out there, and then she told me no.
We start getting to that story.
But see, I don't think she really liked the Queen's brother, because like it was like Lord Ledger. Yeah, it was moving too fast for her. And then like when she showed up with the Queen's brother, Lord Ledger was like, "Dang."
Yeah.
And she just wanted to be free. She didn't want to be with nobody. Independent Black woman, okay.
So let me pause real quick. I feel like you internalized Lady Danbury's story very well, Jasmine. Did you connect the most with Lady Danbury, Jasmine? Is that what you're saying? That's what I'm hearing right now from you.
Do I relate the most?
Did you connect the most? Did you feel like that was your favorite character?
I think so, because she's a ride or die for her man. She did whatever she had to do. Then when he was gone, then she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna do me." I did all this stuff to help him, but at the end, it's gonna help me too. So I'm still chilling. I'm still good.
Yeah, I just sensed it. You had a lot to say about Lady Danbury. So I was like, that's probably Jasmine's favorite character. So episode 5, it kicks off. It ends with Queen Charlotte coming and saving her husband from evil doctor, telling him like, I am his peace. Like, you don't need me, and you don't need you anymore. So that was in episode 5. Loved it. Queen Charlotte again rise for a man. You see Lady Danbury doing her thing, Queen Charlotte doing her thing, just Black queens out here winning. And
was
then
that also the same episode that she found out she was pregnant?
I think so. Yes.
So that was interesting as well.
Why?
Because at the time she found out she was pregnant, they still weren't at a really good place, and he didn't even know that she was pregnant because he was still getting tortured.
No, he did. That's what drove him even more to the torture. That's, if I remember correctly. Like he went crazy, and then I don't remember specifically, but I remember like him finding out. Like, he found out that she was because there was a no. Take it back. No. because there was a note that said I'm pregnant or whatever that they tried to deliver to him and he wouldn't take it. That's what
right.
it was.
He was
Yeah.
already getting
He went more
tortured.
crazy whenever he was listening in their conversation, right, with the princess and Queen Charlotte. Wasn't it then, or was it afterwards?
Maybe. I forget. I don't know. I don't remember every single thing from the season.
I thought that she was trying to tell him, and then the Kingsmen would never give him the letter because every time he would try to do it, they would like push him out of that torture room or whatever. And then eventually she like met up with him and was like, she put her hand or his hand on her stomach. And then that's when he realized, oh, I'm having a baby.
Well, but I think that's when she saved him from the torture room. Like she kicked everybody out, and then she was like, "I'm bringing him back with me," and that was
I think what ultimately drove him to go to the doctor was whenever he was drawing on that wall.
Yeah,
and like she grabbed him and she put him back to bed with her, and then she woke up, and then like he was gone because I guess he saw that he had like made a drawing, and so that's when he just like leave again.
Yep. Any other thoughts from episode 5? Comments, key moments?
Episode 5.
Yeah, that's what we just talked about, which Lady Danbury living her life, gardens in bloom, all this other stuff. And so last episode, we get one of the most iconic scenes in Bridgerton. Everybody loves it, right? Very beginning of the episode, we see this man is like trying to recover from eating, from being tortured all this time, and she pops in and she's like, what's the line that she says? Do you even remember specifically what she says to him? And he just yells, "I love you." And like he has this
she was like, "Do you love me? I've never heard you say you don't love me. So do you love me? Yes or no?"
Yeah,
I love that part. I like her part better.
Yeah,
she was demanding. She was like, "You need to tell me now, or I'm done."
Did y'all cry when that happened?
You love me.
No. I almost cried on the very, very last scene when they were under the bed, and she's like pulling him back to reality. And that's
I love that. I did cry.
Under the bed was like his safe space, and like he kind of came back into reality. Then they like kissed and stuff. I was like, oh my god!
And then they showed them with their younger selves, and again with their older selves. I'm like, oh, that's adorable.
Yeah. So episode 6 obviously is a culmination of everything. We get to find out that the king actually does love her. He went through all this stuff because he loved her. You see the great romantic scene everybody loves to quote and talk about. Find out Lord Leicester is Lady Bridgerton's father in the episode as well. We do see the queen have her first child. So that was pretty cool. And she sticks by the king even though he has like a lack of confidence. And all this other stuff. We also see, so a big part of episode 6 too was like the king having to prove himself, like keep his position as king, and like prove that he's not just crazy person like he's been showing. So Queen Charlotte, another situation where she had to ride for her man. She dances with him, holds his hand, and like keeps him at peace, and she's like, "No, you got this. We're gonna do this." And essentially, she takes over the crown anyway, but still, like he still gets to keep his seat in Parliament as the king. Lady Danbury turns down the queen's brother. The queen's children finally have a grandbaby as well, so that's more back into real life Bridgerton. And then, like you guys already talked about, beautiful ending scene with Charlotte under the bed, where she kisses the king, and they're like, telling the story about how they're having another heir. So that's really my notes for episode 6. Nothing specific I want to talk about, but like any comments, thoughts, key moments that you guys loved outside of the bed scene.
I think like when you touched on like how whenever he was gonna go meet, I guess like the men from the parliament to like show him like that he was good, and he was gonna like had like his whole speech written down to say something, and then like he couldn't get out of the carriage, and then so like you said, Charlotte decided to she was like, we're gonna throw a ball here, people are gonna come to our house, and then they ended up dancing, and like I thought it was really sweet whenever she had a conversation with the princess. And she's like, "This is the happiest I've ever seen him. Like, as long as he's happy, like that's all that matters to me." And like the only reason he was so happy was because he was the Charlotte.
Yep. Powerful woman.
I think it's also sweet too that was right after they had baby number 1, and then boom, pregnant again. I'm like, dang, y'all waste no time.
I was like, y'all don't get no break or nothing.
Even days.
That baby is 2 months old, and you popping out. You about to pop out another one.
I
Like,
mean,
that's
even
why they
days.
got, like, what was it, 15, 16? They never took no break.
Oh, well, I mean, if you think about it, like that's the baby could die. Like you want to have as many babies as possible so that there actually is an heir to the
Well,
throne.
yeah.
So it made sense.
Yeah, and I also looked into while I was watching this. I was like, what was like the percentage of like women dying during pregnancy at that time? And it was like pretty high. It was like 50% of a woman dying, and like the baby dying too. So it's like it's pretty crazy. I was like,
Yep.
You lucky you get one. I don't know. That's a lot.
They have 15, or was the number 13?
13.
I think it was like 15, 16.
Yeah.
I thought it was 13.
It was either 13 or 15. One of the two. Those numbers.
It was double digits, and that's too much.
Yeah.
I can't say nothing because my mom is one of 14. So
Oh,
wow,
yeah,
that's a lot.
she's right in the middle, number 7. So
that's crazy. My dad's one of 9.
my dad's one of 7.
Jesus.
Big families. Yeah, no, I think my mom was like one of 6, and then my dad is like the last of like 7 or 8.
Yeah,
That's 7, but I can't imagine having double digits.
Bro, double digits, like that's different.
But see, that's all they did back then, because my mom said all down down her block, people had 12, 13 kids. Like that was just a thing back then.
Also, they were. I mean, she was 17, so like it was just like 17.
Yeah, they had time. She was 17.
Yeah.
17 to 30. Like that's what you having kids at that time frame. Oh, so 20s were just pregnant. That's all it was.
I do think one thing that was interesting, and I don't know if it was, I think it was in this last episode, is that they talked about how like, and like she even asked Brinsley, she was like, was I a good mother? Oh, she was like, I was a good queen and a good mother, wasn't I? And then Brinsley's like, you were a good queen.
Because she felt so bad after her kids came to her and were like, we've lost so many babies, and you don't even know that we've been trying to like conceive all these babies, and since they died, you never even knew that you actually had like more grandkids than what you had. And she had no remorse. Huh? She had no remorse that grandchild died, honestly.
Sorrow's prayers.
I love that. I say that today. I'm like, sorrow's prayers.
Yeah, because the grandchild died and her son's wife died.
The heir to the throne is dead.
And then the son is just like bawling.
Crying his eyes out, and she's just like, oh, sorrows, prayers.
And then Bruce is like, at least you were loyal to the king. Which
my man.
Yeah, she was loyal to her mans, but she wasn't really big on her kids, which is fair. I don't know y'all like that.
Honestly, it's kind of trauma, because she's like, this is what I went through. Like, I'm just supposed to be getting married and having babies. My kids are going to be doing the same thing. So she just did what she knew.
Mm-hmm. And she did the same thing to them because that's what she was taught.
Yeah.
That wraps up our recap review of this season. So overall, what were you guys' thoughts on the season? Put a couple questions. What are you guys' thoughts, like final thoughts on the season? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Where does it rank amongst the other Bridgerton shows? And then give me a 1 out of 10 rating of this. If you want to do like a 7.2 or 8.9 or whatever, you can do that too. But 1 out of 10.
It was good. I loved it, honestly, because I just love their story. And I loved at the end how they were still like each other's piece. I'm not gonna rank it with the other Bridgertons because like it's different. It's better than the first season of Bridgerton, but I don't know if it's better than the second because they don't have a second yet.
Yes, it do.
And I would rank it like 8 out of 10.
I kind of want to see them like progress on this. Like, I know they can't really go much to like many places, but if you think about it, Bridgerton doesn't have a lot of aspects of the queen. So the more that they can bring out like those things in between Bridgerton with the queen, I think that would be really good. And I kind of also want to see Lady Danbury's story like behind all of this. But as for a rating, I would give it 8 coffee beans out of 10.
Here.
I think my thoughts on the show is it was really good. I love any romance shows. I love romance shows. And I do want another season. I feel like that would be great. I want more of a backstory on King George. I think I want to know more of like how he grew up, a little bit more about how the queen grew up too, like as kids with her brother and stuff. Compared to Bridgerton, the actual show, I think this show was more like, had more drama because of everything that was going on. So I think it was like, and it like the romance seemed to have like, I guess like the romance seemed a little bit more intense than what's Violet Starr's name? The Diamond?
Oh, geez, what's her name?
Daphne?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Daphne. And her husband.
Simon, is that her name?
Yeah, Daphne and Simon. I feel like that was a good love story, but I think I like the queens and the kings more. Now I don't know why, but I do. I like it more. But yeah, I would rate it eight coffee beans like Jazz and Jason.
That's not to be coffee beans. That's just Jasmine's thing with my show. So, that's hilarious.
Savon needs to do coffee bean ratings.
I
You
do.
should. That
I
would
do.
actually be
No,
great.
I see them
I do.
sometimes.
See, Gabby watches. They don't watch. I do say coffee beans now. So
Yeah, some of his little thingies that have the little coffee bean on there, and then he'll have like the 8 out of 10 or 8.5 out of 10.
I see those. I watch those. But Gabby, you know how long it took him to do that? I suggested that years ago, and he thought it was stupid. And now he does it.
I'm
you know
sorry,
why
I
I
can't
did?
help
Because you
there.
badgered me.
Because
You
his
now.
berated me. You
You
berated
should
me
have
for a
Jasmine
while.
because you want to know why? Because the Black Queen was trying to look out for Savon to make his content better.
Appreciate
See?
that. What'd you say, Leslie?
I said you should really have Jasmine as your marketing director.
Yeah.
Man.
Merchandise, everything. Do everything. Beanies, cups. Dude, I've been promising cups for like the beginning of the year. I still haven't made the investment. But yeah, no, I love the show too. My only question is like how can you elaborate more on the story? Like you have to either, if you talk about King George's childhood, you're probably gonna talk about Princess Augusta and her husband. So like, do you want another story about that? You talked about the Queen Charlotte, like her story. So do you want another show that talks about like her life in Germany or wherever they were? Like, would you watch that? Another season randomly about that? Like,
I think what they need to do is like take present day Bridgerton and like seasons 1 and 2 and incorporate backstories on the queen within that, because like I said, they don't show much of the queen besides her going to these balls and like doing all that stuff.
because she's not. I don't think she's that big. I haven't read the books, but I don't think she's that big of a character in the books. Like the story called Bridgerton for a reason. Like it's about the Bridgerton family.
Right. So I think what they can do with Queen Charlotte is incorporate Queen Charlotte's aspects behind the scenes of Bridgerton.
Mhm.
That's just my thought.
I feel you.
You see what I mean?
I feel like, I don't know if you guys seen Yellowstone, but then you get to like all these like spin-off shows and you're like, I see, for me, again, I told you this before, I don't want to have to watch 15 different shows to understand the main show. I just want to watch the main show.
Well,
and have that.
There's not much that like affects the main show from this one though.
There's not. There's not.
That's what I'm saying. Like you can
But I'm
still
saying
you can still stick with Queen Charlotte and just do like the background stuff between each of those seasons to keep it going if you wanted to do that.
I was keeping with this because then it turns into like 15 again. I have no problem with that. I'm not. So let me pause. This is not me shutting down your idea, Jasmine. I think your idea is fantastic. I'm saying for myself, if I saw that they came out with another show that was like, let me tell you about the backstory of this backstory, I'd be like,
No,
that's not much.
What I'm saying
exactly.
is it was Queen Charlotte. Like it would be strictly Queen Charlotte. Like
I know we talk about childhood. I could give a damn about her childhood. I'm not
talking about the childhood. I'm talking about the stuff that happened in Bridgerton, and then like her continuing it on with Queen Charlotte of like the Queen's aspect within those seasons.
So basically, just telling like another perspective of like what's going on in Bridgerton right now, but just add
right.
I feel like we get that though. I feel like we get that with what because she shows up like her big thing is like, is there a diamond? You know, she's reading Lady Whistledown every day. She's beefing with Lady Whistledown, which I'm interested to see how that works out since Penelope is like, because that should be next season should be like Penelope and Colin and their love story, and people know.
No, I don't think so.
No,
I think
no,
it'll
it
be
is.
Colin,
It
but
is.
not Penelope, just because like he already said he doesn't really like her.
Yeah,
It
but
is.
that's they're basing it
It's
off
the
of that.
book, yeah. You
Oh.
you can if you
Well, I
want
read
if
it
you
on
want
the
to know the
notes.
story, if you want to know each story, you can go look it up right now. It's there's books.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's
I don't want to know the story.
are they
I
like
know.
long?
so sorry for ruining it.
Sorry.
Sorry for ruining that for you, but
No, it's fine. I'm like, that helps. I like when they have books on shows that they have, because that way if they cancel that, I can just go read it. Because it pisses me off when it's canceled and there's nothing left, not a
brings it back
single
full
thing
circle.
left.
Full circle.
It pisses me off.
Back to the what drink was again. Well, appreciate you guys. Again, we went a little bit over, but that is our recap and review of this season of Bridgerton. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys have watched this far, appreciate you guys. Maybe like one or two of you guys probably watched this far. But if you have watched this far, appreciate you guys for tuning in. I like doing this. I like having people drop a emoji, specific emoji, people that made it this far. What emojis should people drop in the comments if they did make it this far?
The crown emoji.
The crown emoji. Okay, I like it. If you made it this far, drop the crown emoji in the comments. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Call for your friends. Thanks for tuning in. See ya.